Tim, did your work, did folks look, did you look at the sort of microeconomic life within this new macro economic paradigm? What happens to firms? Could there be opportunities for high rates of return for particular firms and particular investments? What about innovation in a zero growth economy? Has there been much work done on these sort of what happens to the economy at a more micro level in a macro zero?
A little. I mean, there's masses that could be fleshed out. I mean, actually, it is being fleshed out. I mean, Juliet's book is, in some ways, is doing exactly that sort of thing. It's sketching a picture. I mean, it was encapsulated in what I talked about this evening in this concept of ecological enterprise, of a different sense of what the firm is. And what is that different sense? It's differently structured. It could have different corporate forms. It doesn't expect its returns in general to be in the same way, although you're absolutely right. There are clearly sectors where there are good returns to be had, in particular, for example, in resource productivity, in clean technologies, in renewable energy, in places where we know there are already good economic reasons to be investing in those kinds of technologies. So yes, there are bits of the economy that are likely to grow. There are bits of the economy which are likely to become more productive. Interestingly, my sense is there are also bits of the economy that are likely to become less productive in conventional terms. Why? Because much of our productivity is based around labour productivity, and in the new economy where employing people's labour matters, where actually what we're after is the human services associated with that labour, it doesn't make sense systematically to chase labour out of that through increasing labour productivity. So do you want your doctor to be seeing 100, 200 patients per hour? Do you want your social care worker to be rushing around in seeing as many clients and people in their care as they can? Do you want, whatever your particular pastime is, your yoga teacher to be teaching in rooms with 1,000 people? No, actually the services in the service-based economy rely on the value of the human labour that's exchanged in the process. So you can say, I think, quite a lot about a differentiated economy, some of which will be pursuing a service-sized vision with lower rates of return and productivity, some of which will be actually dedicated primarily to the protection of ecological assets, to farmlands, to forestry, to ecosystems, to waterways, to wetlands, and some of it which will be actually, yes, still quite productive in the conventional economic sense, and where you can increase productivity. It's a sketch at the moment, and it's being filled in by all sorts of people. Gus?
Follow up, just the one argument that along these lines that has been, offered as a criticism is the argument that we know we need to grow certain things, let's say green energy, in a big way, rapidly, and that dynamic will only occur in a high growth economy. Is there anything to that, and how do you answer that?
I mean, it is clear that you need to grow green energy rapidly. That is absolutely clear, and you need a system which will do that. Now, what the general argument is that we've got the system that will do that already. I mean, the fact that it doesn't happen to have achieved it seems to sort of bypass people's attention. But even if you could create from this existing system a sector in it which was growing as fast as it could along those lines, if you still at the same time haven't changed the structure of the rest of the economy, you're still trapped in this twin dynamic that I was describing. So you're still chasing the productivity growth that's associated with consumer novelty that has an appetite in us that's drawing resources through the system. So it's like you're running down the up escalator and not actually reducing the impacts at the same time. So my argument to that is, yes, we need that green growth of that green sector of the economy. Yes, we need it supported and growing as fast as possible. But the likelihood of achieving that without looking at the dynamics of the system doesn't really bear credibility.